Ever wondered what could finally make today's EV batteries look outdated overnight? Today, the world's biggest battery maker has revealed full details on its new sodium battery, and the numbers are real, not hype. It is not a magical 90% cheaper rumor. It is a workable leap built from common materials. If the claims hold, this chemistry could challenge lithium iron phosphate, the workhorse inside millions of EVs. We'll break down the price, the life cycle, the range, the winter performance, and the clever hybrid plan that could speed adoption fast. Then, we'll ask who wins when costs collapse. The price math. Let's clear up the price first, because the internet loves to inflate every claim. CATL says its NxTra sodium ion cell sits around $19 per kilowatt hour at the cell level. Today's lithium iron phosphate cells, the chemistry used by brands like BYD, Tesla, MG, and plenty of others, often land around $55 to $60 per kilowatt hour when bought at massive scale. So no, this is not a 90% plunge to near zero, but it is still dramatic. $19 is roughly 65% cheaper than the common LFP cell price. CATL also says the cost could fall further, potentially toward $10 per kilowatt hour in the next few years. They did not give a firm date, but a realistic window is 2 to 3 years if scaling goes smoothly. And if CATL's internal target of around $10 per kilowatt hour is reached, even the full pack cost could fall into a range that makes small EVs and entry-level models far easier to build profitably. That is the kind of shift that can pull EV sticker prices down, not by a few percent, but by thousands of dollars in some segments. There is a catch, though, and it matters for real buyers. Cell price is not pack price. Add coolings, casing, wiring, sensors, and electronics, and the pack cost rises. A $19 cell can translate to roughly $40 to $45 per kilowatt hour at the pack level. Even at that level, it is still far cheaper than many packs sold today. And if the cell cost drops again, the pack cost drops with it. That is why people are paying attention. Batteries stop being the biggest cost in the whole vehicle. The announcement. This is the announcement many EV fans have been waiting for. CATL has finally shared full details of its new sodium-ion battery after weeks of shifting deadlines and loud online rumors. It is not a fairy tale that suddenly makes every battery 90% cheaper. It is something more important. It is a serious new option from the world's biggest battery maker, a company that supplies packs to brands like Mercedes, BMW, and many others. CATL calls the new sodium cell NxTra, and the message is bold. Sodium is no longer just for niche storage racks. It is being pitched for real EV packs. That matters because lithium iron phosphate has been the go-to choice for affordable EVs, thanks to low cost and solid safety. If sodium can match the practical range and beat it on price and life, the default choice for mass-market cars could change. Sodium matters because it changes the raw material story. Lithium supply chains can be tight, and many countries rely on imports. Sodium is abundant and widely available. CATL says these cells are built from common materials like sodium, aluminium, and carbon, plus established industrial inputs. That does not automatically make a good battery. You still need usable range, strong cycle life, and stable performance in heat and cold. So the real value of this reveal is that CATL put numbers on all of it, not vague promises. Energy density catch-up. Historically, sodium struggled with energy density. A couple of years ago, many sodium cells sat around 120 to 140 watt-hours per kilogram. That is fine for a stationary battery container, but it is heavy for a car. CATL says its new NxTra pack hits about 175 watt-hours per kilogram. On paper, that now overtakes BYD's current Blade battery, often quoted around 160 to 165 watt-hours per kilogram. This matters because it pushes sodium out of the too heavy for EVs box. At 175 watt-hours per kilogram, you can build a pack that delivers real range without needing a huge vehicle or a tiny cabin. It also helps explain why CATL frames this as more than a price story. A cheap battery is nice, but a cheap battery that forces you into low range is a hard sell. By moving energy density upward, sodium starts to compete in the mainstream part of the market. To be fair, lithium still has advantages at the top end. Some cutting-edge LFP designs can be higher, and premium lithium packs still lead for maximum energy in minimum space. But the gap is narrowing. CATL's own recap is simple, around 175 watt-hours per kilogram for sodium, versus roughly 160 to 165 for the blade pack. That puts sodium in the same conversation, not off to the side. If sodium gives you enough range, plus better cold behavior, plus far longer life, then slightly lower energy density stops being a deal breaker for a lot of buyers. Winter, heat, and charging. Now let's talk about the part that drivers feel every day: weather. CATL says the NxTra cells can operate normally from about -40 Celsius up to 70 Celsius. That is extreme, but the key detail is charging. CATL claims normal charging behavior even in deep cold, including the ability to charge at high speed at temperatures like -20 Celsius. Anyone who has tried to fast charge in winter knows what a pain cold packs can be. Charging slows down, range drops, and the car can feel unpredictable. If sodium keeps charging performance when it is bitterly cold, that is not just a comfort feature. It is a market unlock. It makes EVs simpler in regions where winter is the main barrier to adoption. It also helps commercial fleets that cannot afford long charging delays. There is a safety angle too. Sodium-ion is often described as safer and more stable, and CATL links that idea to its wide temperature window and steady behavior. Combine that with the long cycle life claim, and you get a battery that is not only cheap, but also boring in the best way. It just works. That is why people are talking about this as a possible beginning of the end for LFP in its current dominant form, even if LFP does not vanish completely. The million-mile claim. Price gets clicks, but lifespan changes the rules. CATL claims the NxTra cell can deliver about 3.66 million miles, or just under 6 million kilometers, before capacity falls to 85% of its original value. That is not until it fails, that is until it is still at 85%. Compared with the toughest LFP packs available at the end of 2025, CATL is talking about 3 to 6 times longer life. Put that into everyday terms. With a battery like this, you might wear out the body, suspension, and interior of the car 2 or 3 times before the pack becomes the weak link. For private owners, that means long ownership with fewer worries about battery replacement. For fleets, it is even bigger. Delivery vans, taxis, and rideshare cars burn through cycles fast. A pack that shrugs off years of daily charging, cuts downtime, and spreads cost over far more miles. Then there is the second life story. When the car finally reaches end of life, the battery could still be strong enough to move into home storage or community power projects. If the pack retains value after the car is scrapped, the economics of EV ownership change. It starts to look less like a consumable part and more like an asset that can keep earning its keep. CATL is not aiming only at cars. They also point directly at solar storage, microgrids, and large renewable projects. If storage costs about half as much and lasts 3 times longer, the economics of clean power shift. Solar is already one of the cheapest sources of electricity. Add low-cost storage that degrades slowly, and it becomes easier to cover nights, storms, and peak demand without leaning on gas. That does not instantly erase every power plant, but it moves the tipping point. CATL also revealed a clever transition plan called FreeOid, a hybrid pack that mixes sodium-ion and lithium-ion cells in one system. The logic is simple. Let sodium handle the low-cost, long-life portion of the pack, while lithium covers the high-energy density portion where some vehicles still need it. This hybrid approach also helps manufacturing. CATL says sodium cells can be produced on existing LFP production equipment with only minor adjustments. That means companies may not need to spend billions on brand new factory lines just to get started. That speed could be the secret weapon, because chemistry shifts usually die in the gap between lab success and factory reality. This is why the investor question gets sharp. If sodium can be made on similar lines, from more abundant materials, at lower cost, and with longer life, why keep betting everything on LFP unless you truly need the last bit of energy density? Zoom out again and it becomes an energy-independent story. Cheaper domestic batteries reduce reliance on imported fuels and imported lithium, and that has huge geopolitical weight. One last zoom-out point. Materials. Sodium, aluminium, and carbon are available on every continent. That means more countries can build batteries at home instead of fighting over supply. In a world with tense trade politics, that is a big deal. And it does not mean lithium disappears overnight. High-energy lithium packs will still be used where every kilometer matters. But sodium could take a huge share of the everyday market, the part where cost, life, and winter performance matter most. All of this comes down to one simple idea. Cheaper, safer batteries that last longer change everything. If sodium-ion really hits $19 per kilowatt-hour at the cell level, and later pushes toward 10, EV prices and grid storage costs could drop hard. A pack that survives millions of miles could live a second life in homes and microgrids. And if Freoid-style hybrids let factories switch fast, the rollout could be rapid. So what do you think? Does sodium replace lithium, or do they coexist? Thanks for watching, and share it. Tell me below, and I'll see you next time.